Hello there, my name's Ash, my pronouns are they, he, and I want to talk to you about my journaling system things because it's fun and I like watching videos like these, so why not make one myself? For context, I've been bullet journaling for a couple of years now. I want to say since 2019 at the very least, and I used a similar system before then, before bullet journaling became a thing, like a widespread thing. But I did a similar thing before that because planners never really worked for me. So I have a couple of my bullet journals here, as you can see. So let's start there. Currently, I'm in my second bullet journal of 2024. I say bullet journal, it's not technically a bullet journal, but it continues on the same path that I used my bullet journals for in the past. I now call them companion journals. We'll get into that. Last year, 2023, I used the official bullet journal by Leuchtturm. And this is when I started doing it more seriously, I suppose, in 2019. And it's changed a lot. I'll say that. And now, because I never finished it, even though I used this one for like 3 years, I now use this journal, let me see, primarily to journal about my gender-related feelings, thoughts, etc. So yeah, that's what I write about in here now, just to fill it out. I would hate to waste all these good pages that are still left in here. And I'm gonna probably keep this somewhere stored anyway when I'm finished, so I don't feel bad about wasting it. So that's my old bullet journal. I added all these extra ribbons and things to it, and made my own tabs on the top. Just a fun little experiment thing, essentially. Doing it for a couple of years, though, has taught me several things, and only last year that I started actually analyzing it when I started using this one. So, because this is the official bullet journal by Leuchtturm, it comes with some other things, like this is thicker paper than the standard. This also Leuchtturm notebook. They always come with 2 ribbons normally and a elastic. And they're numbered pages also. So this one has thicker paper. I believe it's the standard is 80, and this is 120 or 100 GSM. It also comes printed with like a grid guide. It also came with this little bullet journal system quick guide. I also own the bullet journal book. I am more a fan of the bullet journal system in like the actual method type of deal than the everything needs to be pretty and decorated and all of that. I wouldn't say I use it without anything interesting, but I like to be minimalistic with how I do any decorative type of stuff. I have a key page, intentions, and this is the index for all of 2023. What I did was I had a very specific month layout that I used every month that had my events, trackers, and then some card readings because I do card divination. Either a study or a book list tracker here, and then like a review on the month at the end of the month. And these stickers that you can see there came with this journal as well, which was very helpful because setting up the month was very quick because of that. Also, if I mispronounce or say something weird, I'm Dutch. My English is pretty good, but I wouldn't ever call it perfect. So, what I would typically do in my old bullet journal was have some version of a week overview. Here I just have my events of the week, which is very few. And then some to-dos, and then I have my daily entries and a random project thing, and then more daily entries, which is very much bullet journal style, like notes and bullet points and whatnot. And then I have lists throughout this thing. I kept a books of the year list, and I added any book that I came across that looked interesting to me, and I put them on this list with the specific format that I was interested in, and whether they were recommended or whether I bought them or bought them on a recommendation, and if I read them or not. So on the first list, I read a good deal of these. Some of them I never touched, and others I wasn't interested in anymore later. So it's just interesting to see how my interests shift and tend to align with certain topics over time. So that's why I kept these lists. I have a couple of these, like 3 or something in this journal. This is a project, like a book club thing. And then this is kind of what my journal would look like. Here's another books of the year list. And more books. Here I start doing my weeks horizontally with like the days of the week and then weekly tasks. And basically what I found out is that I need some type of week overview system because it works very well with how my brain processes time, but I also need a daily section to remind myself what I'm supposed to be doing that day, as well as look back on what did I do when, because I have no sense of time, like, internally. So that's pretty much, this is what the books on my radar list was like. It's kind of overlapping with the book list that I showed earlier, but this will also be specifically books I'm reading at that time, so it's nice to see what's particularly interesting to me that month. Another book list. This is the last one of these for that year. This is a reflection I did on my time management that I wrote on a scrap piece and then copied into here. It's on a video I watched, some notes. And I believe in either November or, yeah, November, I started experimenting with different layouts because I suddenly saw Hobonichi planners all over my social media. They're very popular, as you might probably know, and I decided to try out the layouts to see how that worked for me. I was particularly interested in the weeks and the daily pages, because the dailies had like a timetable on them that I liked the idea of, but I've never been able to make that work for me. So I was a little bit on the fence about that and whether the week would be too much or not enough or whatever. Turns out I really like the week layout. And yeah, the day entries were kind of hit and miss for me. I kind of liked it. I also kind of didn't. This is one of those examples where I didn't like it because these are 2 days and I felt bad about wasting all this empty space. So I did another day there. It wasn't working for me. And then I kept sort of doing this because I liked it. And it kind of freed up my daily entries to be less bullet journal-y and more like thoughts or ideas. It's another collection thing. And I started doing more reflections on how I was using this, writing down the things I liked and didn't like through looking back on all of this, and what I wish I was doing or not. I very much recommend you do that if you are either already using a system or thinking of moving into a system. Like, write down what you think you need, what you've tried, and what did or did not work for you, and then go from there, because it makes it easier to see what you need and how you can get there. And if you already know what doesn't work for you, you know you should not look into that, or you should look into how to use that differently. Work with your brain, not against it. You can't. It's very hard to force yourself into a system if that doesn't work with how your brain processes things. Which is something I have come to realize very much in the last year or so, getting diagnosed with ADHD on top of my autism. Which, that's probably also why I do this so much. This helps me make sense of my brain. Like, it gives some structure to my brain. But then it also becomes a hyper-focused special interest thing to research planners and journaling systems and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I don't expect anyone else to go as deep into all of this as I do. But if that's something you enjoy, I highly recommend it. Yes, so some reading stuff. This is what my entries look like at the end of the year. I was starting to do a lot more regular journaling, and it started making me a little bit nervous about the amount of space I would need for whatever my next journal was going to be, because this was so much more than it was at the start of the year. But I kept my bullets still. And then I did more reflections on my reading goals, because reading is very important to me, and I am not doing it enough, if I'll be honest about that, compared to what I would like and how it used to be. And then I did my reflections of the year itself, like my reading goals and whatnot. I kept seeing all of this type of stuff on YouTube and Instagram, I believe, and I really like the book cover, so I got myself a mini printer earlier in the year and started doing this because this is so pleasing to my eyes and my little gremlin brain. So yeah, this is all that I read last year, and then I did my favorite fiction and non-fiction books, wishes for reading, some other divination related things, readings for 2024, and some good things of last year that I wanted to share in here, goals of next year. And then I wrote down the system I moved into for the next year at the end, and I cut out all these extra pages that I had left over because I didn't want to waste them, and I made them into like passport size inserts. I'll show you later. And I always have a pen test page in the back, sometimes even more, depending on how much I use them. But yeah, Leuchtturm also always comes with a little folder thing at the end. And that's what my bullet journal looked like last year. So, the next year, current year, if you are watching it in 2024, I moved into this thing. So this is the A5. This is the B6. It's a little bit smaller, like this much difference. It's just a little bit more compact while still being a decent size. Like, this fits quite a bit of text if you want to. So that's what I moved into. Oh, also, the official bullet journal has 3 ribbons instead of 2, in case that matters to you. So, 2 things. I decided for 2024 to not just get a new Leuchtturm in a B6 size. I also had decided to try out a Hobonichi Weeks, specifically the Weeks Mega, because I was thinking I can do my daily bullets in the back, and I did. So I got the red version because that's what they had. They didn't have as many of the Mega in different colors where I live, so I went with the red one, and I thought I can always dye it black if I want to, and I partially did, and then I made this stamp thing on the front and the back, and I kind of like it and I kind of don't like it, so I might make it all black anyway. Oh well, it doesn't really matter that much. So that's what I did. And why did I choose to go with the weeks? Well, because it has week overview pages, like the one I showed you in my bullet journal earlier. And this has been working pretty well for me, on one hand. I never use month overviews. I try to keep them, and then they never really work out for me. So yeah, that's one thing. Another thing I do in here is at the start you have these lists, and I use that to track the amount of pages I read per day. I still need to fill in all the ones for July. We're getting close to the end of July, so I'll probably do that either at the end of this week or next week or something. And then I started with the weeks, and I've done a couple of different layouts for the weeks. Because I used these pictograms in my bullet journal for my habit tracker, so I tried to use that in here, and I did and didn't really like doing that the way I was doing it, and I just tried all kinds of different things. This was a new type of tracker I was trying out, which was my sleep, my water intake, my mental focus, my physical energy, and stress level. And I did that for a while. I also started using this type of task system, and then I kind of phased out of it, and I kind of like it and I kind of don't. Is what it comes down to. It's a whole lot of things, basically. I eventually switched to habit trackers like that, and tasks, and keeping books on here, and currently what I do is this. I have my events, notes or to-dos for the day on here, my book list, my habit trackers, my tasks, and a week review where I just write down how the week went in terms like general or planner specific. I've been doing that for a little while like that now. Playing around with fonts lately, so that's what that is. What I forgot to mention is that in these, all of these, I write exclusively with fountain pens. And yes, the paper is fountain pen friendly. However, this paper is a lot thinner than the Leuchtturm. You can very clearly see ghosting through these pages. You can also see it somewhat on the Leuchtturm. I never found it bothers me. Let me see if I can find a page that shows the ghosting, like here for example. You can see that I wrote there on the other side of the page, but I don't care. So this is how I was using the weeks. And then in the back you have the notes section, which is a little bit of a chaotic mess, I gotta say. I started off with intentions for this one. Try some different tracker things. Apparently skipped a page here. Did my bullets in here, which I kind of liked at first. But I don't like going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So I kind of stopped doing that, and then I started doing visual trackers for my books that I was reading. More lists, more visual trackers, calligraphy practice, other lists and things, and more visual trackers, and yeah. It's a little bit all over the place, essentially. And I started using it less and less and less in the back here. Like, this is all I did for July, and we're almost at the end of July. So, I actually need to add something to here. But I'm not going to do that right now, because I will get distracted. So that's what I use the notes section for mostly. And then I have a couple lists in the back, like my pen test, grid thing, my book list with books that I bought or want to read or am reading. Those are all here, and then these black ones are the ones I read. I also started keeping a movies/series list, video game list, and creative project list. And I have a whole lot of pages to fill, and I don't think I needed, 200 note pages in the back here with how I'm using it now. I'm at, let me see, page 45 in the front, and then I have like 4 pages in the back that I'm using. So if I didn't get the Mega, I believe you get like 72 pages, I would have had roughly 20-25 pages left or something, which would be not that many. But if I had gotten to the point I'm now at the start of the year, I probably wouldn't have used them as much as I have, even if it's not a lot. I would have probably cut out all of these bullet journal things and just kept the lists and kept it at that, and I would have been plenty. I don't think I needed do Mega with how I'm using it now. But it's better to have the extra pages when you don't know what you're doing or how you want to use it. I think you know how you want to use it and not need them, than to run out midway through the year and feel like fuck. What am I gonna do now? They also sell notebook, like little notebooks. I have them. Let me see. They should be in here. Yeah. So you have like these little notebooks, and they have very few pages. I don't remember how many exactly, but I want to say like 30, 60, something like that. And they do fit in the cover with these quite easily, so you could also just keep certain lists in one of these and not get a mega. Depends on how you want to use them, I suppose. But that's how I've been using this for now. Also, I've been using these little tabs by Midori. They're like copper, I think. They do develop a patina over time. But yeah, that's what this is. So why, if I had this, did I also use this one? Well, I thought I'm never gonna fit all of my long form journaling in the weeks, even if I only use it for bullets. And I don't want to limit myself in how much I write a day if I want to write more, so that's why I decided to get a weeks, or not a weeks, a companion journal, as I call it, because this travels with my weeks. And if I want to write about something, about my day, I write it in here, and this also catches all of my book-related notes. All of it. So, one thing I did was write all of the things I wanted at the start of the year in my system on these stickies. And I stuck all the ones that I wanted to go in here in cover and never took them out. So I also had some for the weeks, and I don't think I stuck them in there. This was my index page. These are all the things I filled it in with throughout the year, and then these are the ones I filled in from back to front, because I decided to put my collection lists from the back to the front, like a smart person would, because I didn't do that in my 2023 bullet journal, and I very much regretted it. So I have some course related trackers in here that I didn't really do much with. Yeah. So again, I had an intention page for this one, and then I had my book goals and notes. This is basically an index page for all the books that I read throughout the year in order that I started them, and then the page numbers of when I started taking notes on them. So, for example, this first one starts on page 6. This is the first entry for that book, and then this is where my notes start. It's not a perfect system. I wish I already also had a notes end thing, and I didn't do that, so oh well. But then the star rating I put on the back here in the color that I picked for that month, which is going to be key, because it turns out, am I seeing it right? I think so. If I am seeing it right, I finished this one in February because it's a brown ink, while this is a red ink that I used in January. So I know to find. Let's see if I am correct. This is February is brown, and then January was red. Now these are very similar colors, so I could be seeing it wrong. But let's see if I can find my review. Yes, I was right. So this is where I did my review for that first book on the list. So I can still kind of see, oh, I started reading it then, and I finished it in the month that The Color of the Stars are in. So I think it's a neat system. It's not perfect. It worked out well enough. Also, I don't recommend picking a color of the month in a color you absolutely hate. Like, I am not a fan of how bright this purple is. It kind of hurts my eyes and I hate it. So towards the end, I started mixing the purple with a different color. And it became this kind of moody purple. And I wish I had used it instead. And I got a different ink and I started doing it in a different color altogether. Which kind of evolved into my picking 2 colors for each month. So that's where I'm at now. But at the end of every month, I paste in the covers of the books that I read and finished. Specifically the ones I finished that month. With their star rating. And if I have space for it, I will also write a little bit about it. And if I have the space, I will write down my goals. And then see at the end of the next month whether I met those goals or not, and then adjust them accordingly. On these pages, I also track what pens I have inked up with what. My habits in review on the other page. And then just my daily entries with whatever I want to write about, which is usually just a book log of what I read. Like here, reading this book for these pages, that amount. Sometimes I write the author or the chapter I'm reading specifically, and then some notes on that. Sometimes I have a lot of notes, like here. Or actually, is that... Yes, these are also notes from a book. That's most of what I actually wrote down. Sometimes I have some other fun things that I want to give you a picture of. So, while most of it is book related, I also just have the space to write about whatever I want. Like this is just a little thing, like a creative thing I wanted to talk about that I wrote down. Yeah, that's how I've been using these. This is when I got my letter cover, and I stuck all these things in here because I thought it was cool to do so. And yeah, as you can see, I just keep it very simple. I add the fun in very minimalistic ways where I can, like the covers. It makes it very visually clear to me what I read, because I will recognize the covers. And like have a mental link to that. And then the colors of the month that I pick as an accent are practical. They make things stand out. They give me a visual clue of what month it is later on. And in these cases, like if I write with black, I can just add a little accent in one of the different colors to make it stand out more. So yeah, it makes it a little bit more fun to look at, but it's also like practical and doesn't take a whole lot of extra work besides picking up a second pen. And then at the end of the year, I started making my own stamps for these little pictograms that I use sometimes. Because I like making it visually clear that I am writing about my book reading things. or my journal things, or my inks. So that's something I've been doing like this. And then at the end of June, I got a pocket journal. And that's where this gets a little bit more complicated. Oh, and I eventually started experimenting with a vertical layout. Or horizontal, I suppose you could say. Which was kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this, but it's not the most practical always. So, yeah. Because this was June, was the last month I was in here because I didn't have enough pages to do July. I just wrote down my reflections of how I've been doing things in here and how I wanted to do it differently. And I was very surprised to have finished an entire V6 in like 6 months, where I struggled to do it with a regular one with one entire year at one point. So I am kind of proud of myself and surprised and confused and all of that. But it's been good, so I've been keeping doing this. So this was a bullet dot grid journal, as you probably saw. They are like 5mm dot grid. I really like this, but it got me curious. If I did not have a bullet, like not a bullet journal, a dot grid, if I did not have a dot grid layout, if that would clear up any noise that I felt I had while writing in it. I don't mind grid layouts at all. I kind of like them, in fact, but they also add a certain visual noise that I don't always appreciate. So for my new one that I started this month in July, I also did an intentions page, and I switched to a blank journal. So this is the current month page. I decided to just do it on, well, one page, but then both sides. Just to change things up a little bit, see if I like that or not. So yeah, I have similar thing, the name of the month, the inks I got in use, some card reading related things, expectations based on that. This is going to be my review section of like specifically this stuff. And then this is going to be about my books from July, and then these are just my entries. I kind of like the fact that it's a blank page, and because this is a blank notebook, it comes with this grid insert thing that you can use as a guide behind the pages. You just stick it under there, and I don't know if you can see that at all, but it shows through the page because it's so thin. It's thin enough that you can see through it this way. So I've been using that a lot. I like this one the most. I put some dots on it for like guidelines, so I know this is the center line, same as here, and these are like the 1/3 kind of deal. It helps. It makes it a little bit easier to do certain things. The only downside I've noticed, I'll mention in a second, but yeah, this is how I've been doing my days. I just write about whatever I want. I write down the amount of pages I read on top here, and I note the week when the start of the week is. And then I note down the weeks in here because I have all the space in here that I want, so might as well use it for something. And it makes navigating a little bit easier if I want to know about a specific week. The downside of using this grid thing is if I stick in a picture, of course I cannot see through the picture on the other side of the page when I put the grid behind it. So here is where the sticker is. I cannot see the grid here. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's kind of annoying. But yeah, so far it's been good. I like it. It's clean. It gives me flexibility when I want to use it for certain things, like if I just want to draw something on it. I don't feel like any of the page format is in the way. I draw these lines by hand, just dragging it across, not using a ruler because I cannot be bothered to do that half the time. And then again, these are partially just thoughts about things or fun things I got, or they are reading notes from books that I'm reading. And yes, I've used this color before as an accent color of the month. I just really fucking like this orange. And I will use any excuse to use it if I can. So yeah, this is how I've been using it so far in July. I've been doing a little bit more little drawings on it. A little bit of everything. Here I decided to also do a little bit of directional things. I've been using the sidebar for horizontal note taking a little bit here and there because it reads easier than cramming it in this way. So yeah, that's how it's been going so far. I really enjoy doing it this way. I have zero regrets about picking a blank notebook, even though at some point I was a little bit nervous. Because what if I find it very tedious? There's a hair stuck in my cover. What if I find it very tedious to use the grid and don't like doing it without one? Well, I haven't come to that point yet. I'm not saying it won't happen. But so far it's been all good. I moved my list to the back instead of the front, so I have my pen test as usual. My book goals, my book notes. I will say these do feel a little bit less neat because there's no grid there. I added a new books list, which will hold my purchases as well as pre-order, new release type things. And then a project notes one for if I start writing notes about any particular projects that I want to keep track of. I haven't yet, so cannot show you that. I still have some stickers from the bullet journal one that I keep in here in case I want to use them. I don't often feel the need for it, and it's just more a fun little thing that I do sometimes. But I keep it in here. And then this is from an old cardboard box that I cut to size and use as a pencil board sometimes. Or a ruler, for that matter. But I don't use it a lot, so it just sits in the back most of the time. Putting this back in here. But yeah, these the companion journal alongside my Hobonichi Weeks both sit in a Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter cover. This is a B6 size because the Hobonichi Weeks is also a B6. And what I like about these covers is they have this hook system. You can take these out and just hook them into your covers to keep them in place, and they sit pretty securely and they rotate, so there's no problem there. This one also has a pocket in the back here and some pockets here, and it comes with 3 of those hooks, but I just have this little thing in here for now, not really doing much. And then I bought this pen band thing. It's also a Midori one, I believe, because this one didn't come with a band. There was a version that did, but it was a very thin elastic that I didn't really like, so thought I might as well get one of these to try out. But this was hard to get on, and then this one, like the actual band, pulled out of the clip. And I wedged it back in there somehow just to keep it attached, I suppose. And you can like adjust this little strap, but because the Weeks is so short, it doesn't really work out well. I do kind of use this little thing here, this pen loop, to attach my fountain pens. So for example, currently I'm using a Lamy Safari in the color Mango with my Wet n Google Heimdall ink. So I put that like, wait, no, the other way. Come on. I put that one here through the loop. Then I have this Twispy Eco stub nib with Diamine Marine that I attach like so, and that will sit flat, kind of fill out like so. And sometimes I just have like a binder clip here that I will hook a pen to, or like this one. So I don't currently have it capped because my Twispy Vac Mini cracked while refitting it. But if I just take the cap real quick, I can usually hook this in there and it keeps it in place. But if it's filled out like this, it does kind of tie better with the band. It's still not ideal, so oh well. Yeah, that's how I kind of use it. I like these covers, they're very sturdy. I prefer the leather inside over the felt one. I also have cats, so I think if I got the felt inside version, it would just get covered in cat hair, no matter how hard I try not to. But I've heard those are also quite nice in use, so who knows? Maybe I'm overthinking it. So that's that system. Now I added a little thing recently, as I mentioned, to my journal system, which was pocket notebooks. And at first I got this one. It's an pocket notebook by the brand, I believe the brand itself is called, oh wait, hold on. Alright, fixed it. I was wondering why that was not looking right. So this is by X17. I don't think you can see that. In the color, I believe this is kastanje. And this is the 3 insert version. So it has 3 bands and it's a little bit wider than the versions that come with only 1 or 2. And yeah, it just sits in like that. The thing is, these have like a little cutout, like notches on the top and bottom, just like the spine does. So the elastic bands sit in better, but they're also slightly smaller than a typical A6. Like, I believe an A6 is slightly wider. So it makes finding inserts kind of hard, and passport size inserts are too small. So it will bend the edges, which I don't really like. This is a insert that I made out of the remaining bullet journal ones that I showed earlier that I cut out. So that was my little project recently. And I stuck the Leuchtturm labels on there. That was fun to make. I have a couple other ones, but I had that in here for now. This is an official Trevor's Notebook sticker release one that I keep my stickers in at my desk. I'm not gonna lie, I wish I had one of these sooner, because I keep losing stickers everywhere. And I hate that, and I love my stickers, and I want to use them, but I also just don't know where to put them sometimes. But yeah, this is what the inserts from this notebook look like. If you get the 3-book version, it comes with a grid one, a lined one, and a blank one with a little guide paper that has like lines and grid on each side. And then I also got the plastic insert thing, which here, like that. I kind of like it because the way it's made, they have this little cutout here, this little groove on both sides, so it technically lays flat. Technically, if you have a little bit of like a clip or something to weigh it down, it lays flat while you write. Or if I were to place it like this, I suppose. The cover lays more flat than the notebooks, I've noticed. The paper is alright. This was just my Liliput, which is a very small size pen. Didn't bleed through. I did test it out with more pens here. So this is the blank one. This is the amount of bleeding I got, which is very slightly over here. But it's also the wettest pen out of all of these. And it does have a little bit of feathering, but not too much. There's a very slight amount of sheen that I can see, but it's so minimal, it might as well not be there. So yeah, it's not bad paper, I just don't like them as much. But, you know, it works out. And I believe the inserts are about the same price for the same amount of pages as the Traveler's Notebook ones are. So in that case, you can also not really complain about it. I just found it a little bit awkward or something. It just wasn't what I had hoped it was. And I kind of like, but also kind of dislike the texture of the cover. So while it's not entirely wasted, it just wasn't what I wanted. So I got a traveler's notebook in the passport size, even though I kept telling myself passport is too small for my taste. Here I am, folks. I arrived there eventually. So I have the traveler's notebook clip, which is amazing. I got the black one, which comes with a red and a black elastic, and I put a pin on here that I bent the back of, which might be my favorite pin. It says "Black like my soul," and it's a ghost coming out of a coffee cup. Yeah, that's not important. So, basically, what I was doing was I have these Penco B7 notebooks, which have grid paper in them. And I started using that like my bullet journal, like the daily bullet points just went straight in here. As well as the pages I was reading with some very quick notes. And I just started using this because this was easier to carry with me during the day than this big thing here, which I love that thing. But if I want to not bring a whole lot of stuff with me, it's not as convenient, and this thing fits in my pocket. Now I could just take just this thing with me, but I don't want to. What I like about this notebook system is that you can add things to it and customize it to whatever you want. So I have these plastic inserts with a Hobonichi stencil ruler thing. I have my own deity art of the Norse gods in here as well. This is the notebook it comes with. It's a blank one. I did test out my pens in it. It doesn't do bad with fountain pens, like didn't bleed through, but the stub nib got some feathering, and I'm not sure if I really like the paper, but it's not bad. I will use it. I have an idea of what I'm gonna fill this with. Just haven't started on that yet. I keep my book covers in here, and then this has my travel card behind it. This is one of the other inserts I made with the bullet journal paper, and I was trying out some monthly things in here because I still wanted something like that, but on the go. So that's what this is, and I have some lists just to try out, because if I'm not going to waste the paper, I might as well just see what I want to use it with. So it's this thing, and then I have the wallet insert, which holds my cards. So technically, I replaced my wallet, which wasn't that big, I'll say that, like this little thing, which just housed my cards, pretty much. I just realized my library card is missing. Oh, it's here. Of course it is. Alright, that can go there. I will forget it's there. That's fine. But yeah, this was pretty bulky because I kept the Penco one in here for a while. And it was kind of funny because when I put a B6 in here, or a B7 in here, these are also B7, roughly. It's slightly shorter, but also shorter this way. So what I would do was stick my pen, because this is the pen that I kept with it. I'd stick it on the cover, and it would fit perfectly above the notebook in the cover. So that was convenient. I'll say that much. But also it doesn't really matter that much whether I put it in this pen loop or stick it on the side. I've also thought about just putting it over here on the spine because there's a little gap there anyway. And if I'm using it, I'm taking off the pen, so, and I have a little clip here, so I could also just hook it on that as well, like so. So plenty of options. It just, this wallet came with this pen loop, and I've been meaning to test it actually, if it would fit my regular pens, and it does. So I guess I could carry my Twisby with it if it wasn't broken. But yeah, it's been very useful with this thing. I really like it. The one thing I started thinking though was I like using this and I like having my days here, and what if I had a separate insert, not if I wasn't using this one, that had the weeks. So I made a little week page with some Tomoe River paper that has, I believe, 3.7 grid size, because I saw someone who makes and sells inserts for not that much more money than the Midori ones, but they have twice the amount of pages, and they're Tomoe River paper, and the grid that I like. So my thinking was maybe I'll get some of those. I'm not getting them now because I have plenty to work with for the time being. I have another one of these penco ones, for example. And what if I got those and used them like this? Would that work for me? I kind of like it. So I do think I will eventually want like a, maybe I will not be using this, or maybe I will, but I will move it to the same thing that houses the weeks and just replace the weeks that I'm using in the big one with a mini version. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. But because this thing is so thick and takes up so much space, like this could be 2 or maybe even 3 different notebooks. If I could be more efficient with it, maybe that would be better. But for now, it's just experimenting with this thing. I quite like the way it's going. I just think having multiple notebooks will be better for how my brain processes things, so things are in the right place where I want them to be. I can easily go to the specific things, so like, oh, I want to know about the month, notebook for the month. I want to know about today, this is today. I want to write about a project, I can do that in here and have everything in one place where I expect it to be, not have to flip through the same notebook to different places as much, because they have clear separators. And yeah, that's what I like currently. Who knows, maybe it will change again, or my needs will shift to the point that I will, instead of use the pocket thing. I don't think so, because I like having this in my pocket everywhere I go and just be able to write something down real quick without dragging it back with me. But in case I don't like this for that purpose as much, and I do want to start using a similar system at a different scale, I saw that they sell monthly journals by Leuchtturm at the B6 size, which also have plenty of note pages that I could make a week overview in there. So I might just do that instead otherwise, because that would mean I can fit 2 of these in here and then they will close properly and work well enough. But if I will do that, I need to have a reason to need that much space, you know. Right now, with how my life is, I can fit all of that in a traveler's notebook, I'm pretty sure. But if I am gonna start college again, for example, I might need more space to track all of my school-related stuff. That this would be better. So it's just gonna depend on how my life evolves, essentially. But it's good to experiment with my options and what I like and don't like and what works and doesn't work before I'm at stages I might need it. And so far, what I've noticed is that changing to the way my brain processes time, like having a week's overview, helps me more than having like a, you know, those planners that have like bars for the days over 2 pages. That doesn't work for me. I need everything in one place, and then related info next to it, so it's all clear and I can see everything in one view, and that works very well for me. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling and saying the same thing over and over again, just in different ways. If you like this stuff, but you think, damn Ash, these covers are way too expensive, I 100% agree. I just thought it was worth the investment. This is leather, it will go with me for a long time. You can also just get like fake leather or scrap leather maybe and make your own cover. I had this, I'm not sure if it's actual leather or not. I think it might be. But I had this from like an old sketchbook thing that I bought in art school. Someone made this, but it was bigger than an A4, or not an A4, an A5. Just kind of an awkward size. So what I did for a while is I made this to a B6 size and then used it with the weeks and the companion journal. And what would happen was I had a gap over here that I could fit my pens in because of the weeks being smaller. But this worked out well enough as well. So you could DIY your own thing, because I had taken this apart. I had to stitch this shut again. Yeah, that's, I believe, all I did, really. Which doesn't make sense in my brain right now. I guess I made it shorter and fixed something with the other ends. Either way, this worked out pretty decent. Just sliding them in there, using the elastic to keep them closed. And because the weeks would be further in the front because it was slit in that flap there, this would close better than this does. And like that, every system has its pros and its cons. But this works pretty decent. So if you are a DIYer, might be worth a try. I'm kind of contemplating trying to knit something like that. Just for fun. So, yeah. That's my journal system as it stands right now. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was probably not as organized as I would have liked. But that's how my brain is, and maybe your brain really enjoys that. So it's all good. if you're thinking, why is there still a blue one over here? Don't worry about it. It's not part of my planner journal system. This is my blue Leuchtturm that I only write in with blue pen, like blue ink, in a blue pen, because it's my blue book of morning pages. I don't know, I have a lot of fun making a whole blue team to do my morning pages in, but they're just that. I write 2 pages each morning of whatever is on my mind, and then I look back on it later. And that's the other type of journaling I do, I guess, that's related to my entire system of journals. I have too many journals at the same time, and I'm not mad about it, because I kind of like it. So, I hope you enjoyed this video with my rambliness, and maybe you got something out of it, and if you did, please let me know. I would like to know. If you have any ideas for me to look into, please leave those as well. If you enjoyed it, let me know, and maybe I'll make some more stuff like this. Or not. We'll see. I had wanted to make something like this ages ago, and I filmed it several things a couple of times and just never really worked out. And now we're like 6 months later, and I'm making this again. So, yeah, I'm just gonna bite the bullet at this point, post it, see what happens. I wish you a very nice day, and maybe I'll see you next time. Bye.